everybody, I'm Shane.
And I'm Matt, and welcome to ABC Interactive English.
Do you smell that?
What is that?
I've got something for you. It's a gift.
A gift?
Yes.
Wow. Ooh.
Ta-da!
Cookie.
A cookie. A homemade cookie. I made it all by myself.
That's amazing. I didn't know you had baking skills.
Well, I am an excellent baker. Yeah, huh? What do you think? Delicious, right?
I mean, what did you put in that?
It's sesame, a sesame cookie.
Not just sesame, there's something else in here.
Sugar, butter, flour.
I don't know. There's
a little bit of salt.
Salt. That's what you put in here. A little bit? Just a little bit of salt?
Let me see that. Uh-oh. I think I may have mixed up the salt and the sugar in the recipe.
Oh, no. So,
it's not really sweet at all, is it?
No,
But it's interesting, right? Interesting? Well, because you were expecting it to be sweet, so maybe that's why you thought it was bad. But think about it, eat it again, and now you know that it's supposed to be salty, like a cracker, not a cookie.
It's still way too salty. We need some water.
Okay. Oh well, why don't we get into today's lesson and you go get something to drink.
Get some water right now.
Lois is helping Kent figure something out.
The cookies shouldn't be this hard. What went wrong?
Yeah, they're like rocks, but I don't know the reason.
Okay, so we have a dialogue, part B, what went wrong? So Lois is helping Kent figure something out.
Okay, so
Figure something
we have
out.
vocabulary here, which is to figure out. So figure out is a phrasal verb, and in this case, it means to solve a problem or to find the answer to something. So he's trying to figure something out. In this case, you could also put something after figure out. It can go between or after. So it could be figure something out or figure out something.
Okay, yeah, so both ways work here. Okay, so how about you can be Lois and I will be Kent.
Okay. Lois says, the cookies shouldn't be this hard. What went wrong?
Oh, so she tries the cookie that Kent made, and she doesn't seem to be very satisfied.
But something went wrong. What does it mean, went wrong?
If something goes wrong, it means that it didn't go according to the plan.
That's right, yeah,
You
it's not the way
you expect it
they
to.
wanted it to go.
Right, you expect it to go one way, and then it goes the wrong way.
Yeah, so I don't think the plan was for the cookies to be hard. And
Right,
so
she was expecting a soft cookie. So cookie, I think we all know what that is. It's a small, sweet, flat, or it could be ball-shaped cake. It's a kind of cake baked from like a dough, right? So I noticed in Taiwan, a lot of people will say to me, do you want a cookie? I said, oh, okay. And then I will bite into it and it's salty. Because in English, when we say cookie, we expect something sweet.
Yes, cookies are always sweet.
What if it's salty? What will we call it?
Then we'll call that a cracker.
Cracker, right? So I have this problem a lot in Taiwan with people confusing me about what a cookie and a cracker is. Because in Chinese, 饼干 could be sweet or salty.
So sometimes someone will be like, oh, do you want to try this onion cookie? And you're thinking, I don't want an onion cookie.
Yeah, but onion cracker sounds
cracker
okay.
is fine.
Yes.
Okay, our next vocabulary word is hard. Hard is an adjective, and it means that something's stiff and not movable.
Like my head?
Your head might be hard. So something like a wall or a desk, you can knock on it. You can't push into it. It's hard. Whereas something that's not hard, like a bed or a pillow, because you can push on it, it moves. That is not something that is hard.
It'll be soft.
Yes. So you could have, in this case, we have hard cookies, and I don't think you want your cookies to be too hard.
But although in Taiwan, that's another problem, is that when people give me cookies, oftentimes they are quite hard.
Okay.
And I think in most Western countries, at least in America, when we get a cookie, it's kind of like a cake. It's soft. It could be a little bit crunchy. That's okay, but we don't want it to be hard.
Right, okay. Yeah, usually you want some, like, usually when you get fresh cookies, they can be softer. So if someone has baked them for you, they'll be soft cookies and not too hard.
So something's weird if you get a cookie that's been freshly baked and it's hard. Okay, so Kent says, yeah, they're like rocks, but I don't know the reason. So they're like rocks. So a rock, right? We know on the outer layer of the earth is basically rock, right? And we get rocks from like cliffs or pieces of mountains. So we all know what that is. So here, when we're saying something as hard as a rock, that means that we're saying that it's just too hard, right?
It's like you're
It's
biting,
like a rock.
You're biting into a rock.
Who wants to eat that?
Yeah. And next we have the noun, which is a reason. A reason is an answer to the question why, or it's the because of something.
Yeah.
So he said, I don't know what the reason, I don't know what is the reason. He could have also said, I don't know why. So a reason answers the question of why. And we don't know the reason these cookies are so hard.
Yeah, I could say, why were you late today? Or I could say, what's the reason you were late today?
That's
right?
I wasn't late today.
It's just an example. All right, why don't we go ahead and take a break, and we'll see you in a few moments.
I have an idea, but I'll tell you after you tell me your steps.
First, I measured out all the ingredients for the cookies.
Okay. How much sugar did you use?
Let's see. I used 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar.
You used too much sugar. That's the reason. I knew it.
Oh, I totally read the recipe wrong.
Welcome back, everybody. So before the break, Kent had made some cookies, and he gave one to Lois. But she thought they were a little bit too hard. Something must have went wrong.
Yeah.
But Kent is not really sure what went wrong.
Right, they're trying to figure out what went wrong.
Yeah.
So Lois says, I have an idea, but I'll tell you after you tell me your steps.
Okay, so tell me your steps. So a step is basically a stage in a process. So he's making cookies. So she wants to know what steps did he take. So step 1 might be that he's going to mix some like maybe flour and sugar and eggs and mix them in there. And then step 2, put it into the oven. She just wants to know each part of the process of making these cookies. Then she can figure out what went wrong. Right?
Okay.
So Kent says, first I measured out all the ingredients for the cookies.
Okay.
So he measured out
Measured out.
ingredients.
Right. So to measure something. To measure something means to find the right amount of something using a tool of some kind.
Yeah.
In this case, because he's cooking, he's probably using what we call a measuring cup and some measuring spoons.
Right.
So these things will help him to know exactly how much maybe milk he needs and how much, I don't know, sugar, baking soda, other things he would need to mix.
Which ingredients
the cookies, yeah.
he needs, right? So an ingredient is one of the parts in a mixture, or one of the things you need to add to something to make a certain food. So if you're making cookies, the ingredients would commonly be flour, sugar, eggs, salt, baking soda, something like that, right?
Around, yeah, something like that. And if you look at anything you buy, you get a list of the ingredients on the back of those things.
Right.
Any food you buy, I should
Yes.
say. So Lois says, okay, how much sugar did you use? And sugar is a vocabulary word. So sugar is an ingredient in cookies, and it's a sweet white, usually white crystal, very, very tiny crystals that you use to make things sweet. It can be white, it can sometimes be brown, but yeah, sugar is always in cookies, and pretty much anything that is sweet has sugar in it.
Yeah. So Ken says, let's see. I used 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. Okay, that is quite common actually when you are making cookies to use a little bit of white sugar, a little bit of brown sugar mixed together.
Yeah, so he's used 1 cup of each. So 1 cup is a measurement, is 1 amount of sugar. And so he's got 2 cups of sugar in there. So Lois says, you used too much sugar. That's the reason. I knew it. Okay.
Ken says, oh, I totally read the recipe wrong. Okay, so maybe it was a half a cup of each or something like that, but he read the recipe wrong. So a recipe is a list of ingredients and the instructions for how to make some food or a dish, right? So in cookies, like we said before, the ingredients would be like something like flour, sugar, eggs. Those will be the ingredients. And it will also tell you, you know, how to prepare those things.
Yeah, tell you to mix them in the bowl and to measure the right amounts so that you don't get hard cookies.
Yeah, because baking really is all about the chemistry, and you really have to get the measurements correct, the temperature correct. What are your favorite kind of cookies?
My favorite is these peanut butter cookies that my mom bakes. So whenever I go back to visit home, I ask my mom to make some of those cookies.
Does she ever send them to Taiwan?
She hasn't. She should.
You should ask her, because I want to try those peanut butter cookies.
Okay, well, I'm sure you'll like them better than I liked your cookie earlier.
That's probably very easy to do. Okay, that's all the time we have for today, and we hope you enjoyed today's lesson.
Bye.
Lois is helping Kent figure something out.
The cookies shouldn't be this hard. What went wrong?
Yeah, they're like rocks, but I don't know the reason.
I have an idea, but I'll tell you after you tell me your steps.
First, I measured out all the ingredients for the cookies.
Okay. How much sugar did you use?
Let's see. I used 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar.
You used too much sugar. That's the reason. I knew it.
Oh, I totally read the recipe wrong.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下这课的重点单字。第一个 cookie 名词饼干。Bella likes to bake cookies on weekends. Bella 喜欢在周末烤饼干。下一个单字 hard 形容词坚硬的。Clay gets harder when it dries. 粘土干的时候会变得比较硬。Clay 就是粘土。下一个单字 rock 名词石头。Peter picked up a rock and threw it at me. Peter 捡起一块石头丢向我。最后一个单字 sugar 名词糖。White sugar 是白砂糖，那么 brown sugar 指的就是红糖。I'd like some sugar for my coffee. 我的咖啡想要加点糖。接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 somebody has an idea. 某人知道。那它的相对说法就是 somebody has no idea. 某人不知道。idea 是名词想法、主意。我们来看看这个对话。Why is Maggie late for the meeting? 为什么 Maggie 开会迟到了呢？ I have no idea. Maybe she's stuck in traffic. 我不知道，也许她被困在车阵中。Stuck 就是卡住、困住。 下一个文法 measure out， 量出、称出。measure 是动词，测量的意思。我们来看看这个例句 ：Please measure out 10 grams of sugar， 请称出10克的糖。最后一个文法 a cup of 加名词，一杯什么东西。cup 在这里是一个量词，指的是料理用的量杯。我们来看看这个例句 ：How many cups of milk do we need？ 我们需要多少杯牛奶呢？以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，我们下一课再见喽，拜拜。
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen.
I'm Vivian.
We're going to play a game called Word Drop. Each of us has 3 words or phrases on these cards. We don't know what they are, but we're going to try to work them into a conversation as casually as possible. Do you think you can do this?
I think so.
Okay, so then you want to start the conversation?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, let's go. So one of my favorite desserts is something that I personally love to make because there are so many different types that you can do. Everyone has their own recipe. My mom has her own recipe. I have my own recipe. And that is a cookie.
I think cookies seem like they would be easy to make. And actually, it is one of the first things that most people who want to get into baking will start doing. And I know that because I was one of those fools who thought they could start baking and thought that cookies would be the most easiest to start with. But no, they are not that easy because when I made cookies, not only were they too sweet, but overall, I could just say they did not look like cookies. They looked like something else that is very gross that you find on the sidewalks. And it basically made me realize that baking is actually really hard.
Baking can be really hard because you have to be very specific and there are some rules that they don't teach you in the recipe that you just kind of have to know. So I understand what you mean about that. I will say the very first time I did try to make a cookie, I was like, maybe 10 years old, and it turned out so hard, it was almost like a rock.
It's easy to do that, and I think a main reason why that is because they say that you have to be very specific with these ingredients. And for me, with my personality, I'm terrible at following directions. I'm like, oh, they want 1 cup of flour, I'm gonna add 1.5 cups because I wanna make more cookies and I just don't follow directions well. And one reason why they say cookies get too hard is if you add too much sugar.
Yeah, definitely. Again, there's so many rules that you need to know and you really have to be so specific when it comes to following the recipe. Baking is really a science. Like you have to know what you're doing. You have to follow it very directly, like the directions very specifically. And if it tells you to measure out a cup, you measure out 1 cup and that's it.
Right, yeah. So I need to learn how to follow directions. I think that is my main problem and that's why I'm not good at baking yet. But from now on, when I'm baking, I'm gonna eventually make a really good cookie and I'm going to make sure to share that cookie with you when I'm done. But I also did hear there is actually like a secret to making good cookies is at the very end of mixing everything together, you should add 1 cup of vegetable oil.
I haven't heard of that before.
I'm actually lying. I don't know. Don't do that.
Okay.
Really don't do that. I just needed to add that to the conversation.
Why don't I teach you how to make cookies?
Don't add vegetable oil.
See you next time.